mic.
Let's see.
What's going on, man? I feel
You
like
know,
I'm a little higher than you. It feels weird, man. But
I thought you were talking about weed high.
no, 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 no.
That's hilarious.
All right. So the first thing on the list, I'm keeping a running list of our conversations, man.
Yeah.
But it's like very scribbly note kind of thing.
Hmm.
And the first thing on it is AI, because I really, really want to get your opinion on this AI stuff, because
Yeah.
it feels like it's advancing, and I'm using more and more of it. But I'm not sold on it. I feel like it's going to be like the
Mm.
blockchain, or remember there was the Web3 craze, and
Hmm.
then there was the
NFTs and
NFT, like all of that stuff. It feels that way. I mean, I use AI every day, and I there's a lot of benefit to using it, but it's like I think I still
same.
think it's overhyped.
I'm in the same boat. I use it. I use it every day, but it's mainly just like efficiency gains where like if you want to ask a question and your normal search would have been to Google and you had to go to multiple different URLs and shit, but then you could ask AI and it could just like give you a nice um, quick answer and you could tell it how long you want it, right? Like mine, I always tell it like be concise. That's the first thing I always say at the end of it, just be concise.
Oh
Because
yeah,
it's always like gives me this laundry list of like bullets and I'm like, no, I don't I'm using you because I want the too long didn't read.
dude. Before you die and leave this planet, I'm gonna have to get you to watch Star Trek: The Next Generation. You will see, like every time the subject of AI comes up, it's like the way I see it. I'm like, this is a computer on Star Trek. That's pretty much what it is.
The
Like,
computer on Star Trek, like on the
yeah, like
is
when they
Star
talk to
Trek
the
is the
Star Trek.
name, but is it the name of the ship too?
No, the name of the
No.
ship is the Enterprise.
Okay.
And each Star
Star.
Trek has a different Enterprise, but the one I'm talking about is Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Okay. Is that
Like,
like the first one or something?
no, I think it's the second
1987.
series with Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
Hmm. Yeah, I got an 8.7 on IMDb. That's pretty damn good.
Look, this is my favorite show of all time. When I was a child, it, I hate to admit this, but I think it shaped a lot of my viewpoints of the world.
I
Of
mean, a lot of people love it, and especially in my world and in the tech industry, if you are an engineer or any way technical, you definitely like Star Trek, Star Wars, etc. For some reason, I never got into sci-fi as like a kid, you know, and
oh,
it I don't know what it was. Uh, and then so I just never got into it, and then all of a sudden I missed out on on a lot of that.
well, not only that, this is kind of off topic, but do you have Apple TV?
Hmm. I don't have an Apple TV, but I have like the service.
Yeah, the service, the
I'll
service.
go on and off a trial when I want to watch like a TV series.
Dude, Severance is
Yeah,
one of the best shows that I've ever seen in my life. And
yeah, I love it.
it took me three times to watch it, to get into it. Yeah, it took me three because I was like, whatever, this is boring. Then the third time, I don't know what it was, it caught me. And I think the acting is just, I wasn't paying attention to the acting because like the premise and what they're doing is
Hmm.
kind of take it or leave it.
Hmm.
But the acting and the setup of the entire show is like mind-boggling. If that
I
makes
probably should
sense.
watch the first season again because it's been like I think that they've been making the second season for a long time. It's been over a year, I believe.
Yeah, they just started. They're on the second or third episode of the second season.
I'm waiting because I don't keep an ongoing trial with Apple, so I'm waiting till it finishes and just burn through all the whole second season. But yeah, it's next level. But I loved the whole what was it? What was that the mirror Black Mirror? Like it's similar to that,
Forgot
you know.
about Black Mirror. Do they
The
still
Black,
make new seasons? I mean,
I don't know. I don't think so. Not that
oh,
I know of. But I don't know if it's over either.
I
But
love that. Yeah, I
it's
need to
interesting
check
is
that out.
like Black Mirror and Severance is basically like what people are trying to, it's like the sci-fi of AI 500 years from now. But then everybody on the internet is basically acting like this is going to happen in 20 years. They think,
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you for saying that because I
yeah,
was like, I don't understand these AI because ChatGPT just opened up open it's it's a new version of it. What
Mhm.
is it called? Open something.
I don't
Um
know.
it's a deep research,
Oh, yeah.
a
Yeah, I heard
deep
about it.
research thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I used it. I'm like, oh, this is just a computer on Star Trek: The Next Generation. Especially like the engineer, the guy. I don't know if he's still alive or not, but the engineer on Star Trek: The Next
Hmm.
Generation. I love how they use the computer to solve problems, and I'm like, that is what AI is today. Like,
Mm.
we still are gonna have problems, but we're going the way I see it, and this is in my lifetime. This is how I envision it. Like, there's gonna be this database of all human information about what happened throughout the beginning of recorded history ever. Like all human
Hmm.
knowledge is in this thing,
Hmm.
right? And we're still going to have problems because the natural world is full of problems. Like I can walk down the street
Hmm.
and a tree limb could fall on me. Like
Yeah.
AI is not going to help me in that situation, but AI will help fix my leg if my leg is
Hmm.
broken from that. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
AI isn't going to make everyone jobless and all of this kind of stuff because the natural world is just too complex for that. And I also don't like the conversations that people have that when they say that it's going to become intelligent. I
Hmm.
seriously doubt in our lifetime that AI is going to become like self-conscious and all of this
Yeah.
kind of
I
stuff.
I don't think so either. It's way too, the complexity is beyond beyond anything we can even imagine. It goes into this, segues into like quantum. You and I were talking about quantum entanglement before, and it's like we can't even wrap our heads around what quantum is, and like we name something quantum entanglement because we perceived it and through observation, but we don't know what the hell it is. It's the same thing with our brain. We don't even know what consciousness is and what the
Exactly.
impact it even is. And it's like, how to the hell, I'm 100% on in your camp. Uh, but I think what will happen is we'll get something that looks close to a human. It's not going to be conscious. It'll be like thinking and operating in a rational way based off of all of the information. uh it's almost like a robot. It's what I think about is it's basically, Terminator, like T-1000, uh where he was like he had like a task and he was trying to murder, you know
Dude,
he isn't super intelligent, but he's like he has a task and he can do anything.
that's I'm glad you brought that up because that's basically Data on Star Trek.
Mm,
He's an android.
mm,
And the whole premise of his character, and there's a lot of episodes that focus on that, is that he wants to be human. He's like a Pinocchio like
uh,
character.
yeah.
And he'll do all this stuff like he'll learn, I don't know, like Beethoven, right?
Hmm.
And like he'll perfect the whole thing and even create new music, but it's like it's always missing the human aspect. Like he's
Yeah.
always striving to be human, and
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
it. And there's whole episodes where like he goes on this journey to find his creator, and then his creator is doing all this, and he finds why the dude created him and all of this kind of stuff, and it's
Yeah. Hmm.
still like he's still like striving for this humanity that he
Mm,
can't, it's in his grasp, but he can't quite reach it.
hmm.
And I think even that is not going to be something that we see in our lifetimes. But
Yeah.
if yeah, I think that is part of pretty much the epitome of what a rational android would be. It would be a
Hmm.
whole rational machine that makes
Hmm.
calculations and could talk and all of this kind of stuff, but it's not human, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. And when you're explaining it, I was imagining some like person, not a person, a robot, like taking away a shit ton of jobs based off of just like simple task stuff. Like of course taxis, like that's getting really close, like those jobs, and a lot of people have like the Uber jobs and shit, and it's like that's gonna have an impact. But something else will replace it, right? Like whatever the Uber, like there was no Uber and you couldn't just do a taxi. So what did people fall back onto that was easy previously to get money? It's going to be something else. Uh, so like we'll constantly try to replace it, and that's another thing. You always need a human in the loop with these fucking things because it's like constantly hallucinates. And uh, I'm talking about the AI term hallucinating, where it like just gives you something instead of like telling you it doesn't know. It just fucking tells you, which is very human. Uh, a lot of people won't tell you; they'll just seem confident, and then and even like give you data. Like, hey, I need data. Like I've had it try to like give me pull data from here and bring it back, put it in a spreadsheet form, and then it like confabulates it and like and then I go and check it, and then I just stop using it for any type of analysis, data analysis shit. You
Mhm.
just need way too much human in the loop for anything data analysis. What's been cool though is like Claude. They have this. Have you used Claude, similar to Chat GPT?
I have never heard of this.
Okay, it's by the company Anthropic,
Uh-huh.
and it's uh, it's more for work, and they create. I can't remember what the terminology for Claude is, but they'll create like a live link. Um, so like I went and I went there and was like, hey, my company was thinking about a different messaging for the homepage hero, the homepage image. And every website has like their value proposition. And what I wanted it to create me is like this value proposition and be like, the best company for X, and then it rotates Y, Z. You've seen those websites where it like carousels through. I asked it to do that within I think one prompt, maybe two. I was able it coded like a JavaScript, Node.js, and created one of those. Created a live link. All I had to do is click publish it. Went to publish, and it created an example of like a live hero image exactly like that. And so like engineers, that's another thing. Like a lot of engineer jobs are going to be taken away, where you can now create a startup. There's these I was playing around with I wrote this blog, and there's now these companies that are like it will create this whole agentic AI world now, where
Agentic. What
it's
is
called
agentic
agentic
mean?
AI. This is something I recently learned too, just through work, is that there's these agents, and it's basically um, it will do it has access to a bunch of different tools. A tool could be a website, a database, APIs, etc. And so the agent has access to all of those. And then you basically give it a prompt. The agent will look at like a bunch of different LLMs for information.
Hmm.
It will then go to the website for information. It'll go to your database or any like um, and then it'll come back, and it could actually do tasks. Like it can go to a website, 10 websites, crawl it, synthesize the information, bring it back, go to the next thing. And it could like execute and do things. It could go to AWS and set you up a database. It can set you up like servers. Like you could create a business, a startup now, so easy. Code it really easy. Um, I saw this example where it's like just create. I want to create a CRM, a customer relation like Salesforce, and like it
Uh,
created it a basic CRM with functionality,
yeah.
with a server, a database, all of it. That's that's the cool part in my eyes about AI that's going to come soon. Is like people like you and I who don't have strong coding experience could create a business. We don't even need like a technical founder. You know what I mean?
What? So, okay. Yeah, all right. This is my first time hearing about this. So, can you? break down what Claw can do? Like if I'm a small business, let's say I'm a guy, I have some money, I want to start a business. Like what can Claw help me do? I feel like
Um,
that's becoming an ad or something.
so Claude is more like a business. It's a chatbot, but for business, and it can go a
Mm.
little bit further than um, it can go a little bit further than let me. I'm gonna share my screen, and I'm just gonna show the.
Let me see if you can. Advanced sharing options. Yeah, you can share. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Let me share the screen. All right, I'm just gonna share the whole screen. All right, give me.
Oh, you can switch between the meeting and shares, man.
Here's my prompt. Give me some examples of a homepage carousel that talks about single swords, the company I work for, value propositions through different rotating words, blah blah blah. We want to include, yeah, it's a speedy database, et cetera, et cetera. And then it's like I'll create a dynamic carousel, uh, and then it published it. Let me see what happens. And it just created it. This is live. It's published. Let me see if I have the link. Yeah. So what it did was it just created me a website with a yeah, that's what they're called. They're called artifacts. So they created this like example, and this is coded, and you could just switch to the code. And so all it did was used like JavaScript to just code the whole thing, or React, just
So
coding
wait, hold
language.
on. Are you saying that coders are going to become obsolete?
I don't think they'll come obsolete, but it'll be like,
They'll have to check it and verify it and like,
yeah, it's going to help them for sure become more efficient. So every startup who's in AI, they want to be diplomatic and say like, oh, we're not going to take engineers' jobs and shit, but like it's definitely going to take a lot of jobs. It's like it's like warehousing now. You know what I mean? It's not going to take all the warehousing jobs, but it'll take a bunch.
you know what? The way I think about it is, again, back to Star Trek: The Next Generation. Like the main engineer guy, like he's over a team of engineers, and it's like maybe for the entire ship, there's maybe like 4 or 5 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like in our world right now, and you would probably have to have hundreds and hundreds of engineers to like engineer this big ship or whatever. But if you have all the technical work being done by AI,
Mm.
then you'll just need a lot of people who are there to solve problems
Yeah.
and manage it and making sure it's doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking. So when I was talking about the this is what I was talking about, where it's like, okay, you have your this is the article kind of summarizes it, where you have like your bots with like Claude and Chat GPT, but then you have like cloud development environments where they're like full stack platforms that can build and run apps in the cloud. And so that's when, and then you have local developer assistance where like this helps you code and like extremely well. And so the middle one, where these cloud dev environments, this is a popular company. I hadn't heard of these three, but I played with this one. And basically what he did was he's like, just create me a basic CRM. And it's the same thing. You see it had code and it created it. And so this CRM, this is functional. You can add customers, and then it like stores them in a database, and it's in the cloud. So it's created a server, right? Um, and so now you have a company, and on fucking uh, snap of your fingers. And that's the wild shit that I love about AI that's coming is like previously, and I'll stop sharing. It's like you and I aren't technical as an engineer, but now we can get pretty far with like building, say, a SaaS company, a software company, using software to build something. Maybe we wouldn't need like a technical founder to, maybe we'd need just like one engineer that's a human in the loop, right? And then we could use these tools to fucking code our e-commerce. Like, let's say we wanted to build our own e-commerce site. Like, now you'd have to go to like Shopify, and then they take a percentage of your shit, and it's just like now you probably just build it yourself
Yeah.
with AI. That's what I like about it. Um,
Man, I'm just, man, my mind is blown, man, because I know when someone else who uses a platform similar to this, and it it does, I think it does something similar to what Claude does. It just parses through a lot of data and reports and aggregates the information and like pulls out insights and that sort of thing.
that's the so going back to one of the things you and I were talking about earlier is like even then I started playing around with this. Uh, it's like I still haven't gotten to that point where I'm like, wow, I'm extremely amazed. It's just cool. You know what I mean? It's just like cool. It's not something like, oh shit, yeah, Quincy, I'm using this every day. I'm paying for it. Like I don't even pay for. I started paying for premium Chat GBT, and then I was like, I don't need this. I want, I'll hit my limits on the free Chat GBT, and then I just won't use it for 24 hours. Like I don't give a shit because it's not that valuable to me so far. But I still use it every day.
Well, it's like simple questions like it's like something simple as if I need clarity of thought on something. Let's say I write like that book. Did I share that podcast with you?
Which one?
Um they I think it's called Notebook LM, a Google
Oh, you
product.
did.
Yeah.
You did share that. Yeah.
It's like that. I wrote all this stuff, like this huge book, this huge transcript, and I'm going through it. I'm like, I need to summarize this some kind of way.
Hmm.
And I gave it to Notebook LM, and it just not only did they summarize it for me, they created a podcast on it with two fake people who are just discussing it. And I'm like, dude, you can start a whole channel with this stuff, man. Like
Mm,
it 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 summarizes information with two pseudo people, and the average person will not know the difference.
mhm,
And I can start a whole, I don't know, a whole channel, like a podcast channel of two people just talking about different summarizing each chapter of my book.
mhm, mhm,
And that's something I'm thinking about as far as the everyday person's interaction with it, because not everyone, I think it's safe to say that people who are into it, like me and you, are maybe a minority. I don't know, but I'm assuming that is. And the people who have no idea what this stuff is, let's say they wanted to like get a preview of my book for free or something. And
mm,
I could just send them a link of this podcast of two people discussing my book. And
mhm.
if I don't tell them, they won't know that these people aren't real. You
Yeah,
see what I'm
yeah,
saying
yeah,
here?
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
how do you think that'll play out? Because I feel like I've also saw that, I don't know if you've heard about this, where this guy was creating fake music. He created this fake channel, this fake playlist or albums or whatever on Spotify, and he had AI. The music was AI generated,
Mhm.
and he had AI bots listening to it. So
Oh
he was
shit.
able to scam
Spotify.
Spotify millions of dollars.
Holy shit. That's
Yes, it
wild.
was pretty big. I think he got jail prison time. I'm not sure, but it was fascinating the way he scammed everyone with
Yeah,
that. And
yeah.
I'm wondering like how is that going to play out in the future?
That's interesting. When you were sharing that notebook LM stuff with me, I was thinking in the use case more of a companion where it can help me learn. Where usually when I read a book or so let's say I'm interested in a topic and uh, I could read a book or I could listen to a podcast. That's usually what I'll go to first. But what I could do then is just be like, let's say there isn't a podcast on it, or I could specifically say like, give me the podcast on this book, and there might not be one, right? But then I could have it. because you visually learn, and then and if you're reading a book, it's a different type of learning, like learning through each sense, eyes, ears, etc., or video. And so I think it could like help you dynamically learn and retain information better. That's kind of how I was thinking about it. Is it's just like it could be your little fucking sidekick helping you become smarter. Uh, and that's kind of how that was the use case I was thinking of. But in 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 general, like that isn't still isn't wowing me. And are people gonna are people gonna think like we'll start realizing like what's authentic and what's not, and probably will prioritize like authenticity, where would be my bet, you know. So if like you sent something out like that and people realize like, oh, this is AI, I don't want that. I want something like authentic. And there will probably be areas created where we like can put these stamps on it and make sure it's like human, and then people will gravitate that. I think I would. I wouldn't want to. I would gravitate towards like that piece. But it's interesting, right? Like an AI can't be like it isn't like creative, like raw creativity. It can't be have that raw creativity, but it can have the what is it? It can't have divergent creativity. It can have convergent creativity, where it can take a bunch of information, synthesize it together, and create something creative. Where like, for example, like me, I went with a friend locally to a bags tournament. It was like Bags and Brews is what it's called, and you needed to create a name. And couldn't think of a name. It's like me and my friend likes The Office. It's like give me an and so I just went to ChatGPT and was like, give me some names for a Bags and Brew tournament, that's office themed. And it gave me like a bunch of different examples, and I liked one, or I added two and combined them together, and it was like beer me that bag was the name. And it was like something that came from The Office, and I was like, so that was cool. uh but it's like, yeah, it's just cool. It's like I don't need it. I don't need it.
Yeah,
I probably would have had a shittier name.
that is correct, man.
That's kind of how I think about AI currently. Like my wife doesn't give a shit.
No, most people won't give a shit, man.
Because she sees it as like I think men, we look at things, most men look at things, and it's like they we like to tinker with things, and this is a thing, and it's cool, and it's, you know, it's popular, so we like to fuck with it. And but like a woman could look at it and be like, that's not I'm not gonna bake that in my life. It's not gonna improve
Yes,
it's
no,
not gonna improve
yeah,
anything.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, unless AI could like, I don't know, like watch a baby or something. I don't know, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like, or keep the child occupied, I guess. But yeah,
Here's another thing
it's,
is like going in the back to the quantum is like, so there is this quantum world and AI will never be able to access it, right?
I
Like
don't know, man.
how
Well,
could it
okay, let me put it like this. I think AI it will come closer to understanding it than we will, but accessing it, no, no.
like it's not going to be able to do additional observation, like scientific study on top of, like it can analyze data that,
Mhm. Yeah,
but it's not going to capture new information. uh we would have to in the physical world. So there's the physical world where we can measure things, capture the data, and then feed it and then AI can have that. In the future, if there's, I guess, a robot in the physical world, uh, capturing data, similar to how we have like sensors on athletes and shit, and we have all that data. But still, the quantum world, they're not going to be access that. So when I'm thinking about it, is like a couple podcasts ago we talked about the telepathy tapes. When I think about like their like realm that they're in, the autistic savants, they're in some type of quantum world in my eyes. Uh, and so if if this is some type of latent ability that humans have, uh, and obviously we don't understand it, and we don't even know what the hell is going on. We're calling it telepathy. It's like robots aren't going to have this access because there's something we don't understand about the human, uh not even human, it's like mother nature, fucking the fabric of reality that we don't understand. And if we don't understand it, how's the AI going to stand it? Because we can't feed that information to an AI.
No, no, they definitely not going to have any access to anything of that matter.
So in summary, like the AI is not going to be smarter than our best like autistic kid.
No, 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 no. I think humans are safe. What's not safe is the way society functions because I think a lot of jobs are going to get like, how do you feel about universal basic income?
Yeah, so when there was a guy that made that popular, he was
Was
running
it
in
Andrew Yang?
2020. Yeah. He got me. He was a very rational entrepreneur type guy, and he got me kind of excited about it, thinking like, okay, that makes sense. He sold me on the storytelling. But then after I hear alternative takes, then I'm kind of like, and then it kind of it goes back into this. So here's what I was about to get into, and it's related to this AI thing, is because an AI, once it starts taking a lot of like ownership and like responsibility away from humans, and then we lose meaning, uh and then in purpose in the world. I'm talking to humans as a societal, like if there is like 7 billion humans or whatever billion there is in the future, if the percentage of people that don't have any meaning or purpose is like 10%, and if it's steadily increasing to like 20%, society becomes more fucking chaotic and destructive as the more that percentage grows. And I think when AI goes up, like that percentage is going to go up. Same with what was the thing we were just talking about? Same, what was the thing we were just talking about? We were talking about AI and then something else you just brought up.
AI and
Oh, your
quantum.
universal basic income. Yeah, that's what it was. So like that is another thing where you just take away people's meaning and purpose. Like, you don't have to like,
You know there's a TV show about that.
which,
It's not really funny. It's on YouTube TV. I don't know. That's a side point. But well, yeah, you take away people's first of all, there I mean, this goes into a lot of different area subject matters, but yes, I think it will take away people's meaning and purpose. But the problem is that a lot of people focus on money as though money is a thing. Money is not a thing. Money is just value, right? I mean, you have paper money, but you can take away paper money and exchange it for something else like numbers on a screen, right?
yeah, seashells and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like what money is its value. That's not how businesses, and this goes into, I guess, the philosophical thing about businesses, because I mean, that's what I spend most of my time thinking about is like entrepreneurship and building stuff and like creating things. I'm like, if money didn't exist, people would still create things.
Mm-hmm.
And when you create things, those things have value.
Mm-hmm.
That value will need to be and you will need to exchange value regardless if money existed or not.
Mm-hmm.
So to have universal basic income is just like it's kind of pointless because your money probably wouldn't be worth anything if the government just gave out money to
Yeah.
people. It would probably like devalue. And what'll happen is there's something else that'll come up or that'll be more valuable than whatever these
Yeah.
numbers you have of this quantity does that make sense what
I'm
I'm
on the
saying?
same page. I'm on the same page. It and it also it'll increase complacency. It will stymie innovation and creativity because it's like what motivation you have to do it.
Yeah, and what'll happen is that um eventually value will go somewhere else and someone will create something. Let's say that they did you do it. Um what'll happen is that society will find some other way to exchange something of valuable that something of value that's not that, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
And like you said, let's say AI took over, and maybe now that you create AI models, or let's say everyone started making AI songs, then what'll happen is that the songs that aren't AI will come extremely valuable,
Hmm.
and the songs that are AI will just be like probably free.
Hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the way it moves. And it doesn't matter if you give people money or not, or it doesn't matter what AI does, things are still going to be valuable. That if AI does everything, then everything will not be as valuable as it once was, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you seen Wally?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite movies, man. Love
Yeah,
it.
it's one of my favorite too. Where they just
Yeah,
that
that's sad.
future where
It's
they're
sad.
just like they blow up and they can
Just
barely even
fat
move.
people just like in
Yeah.
chairs and like don't move, and like robots are doing everything.
Yeah.
And to bring it back to Star Trek: The Next Generation, like one of the things that they keep saying, and I kind of was like, I don't know, is that they kind of make the 20th century seem like we're barbarians or something. It was like money. We don't use money. Like
Mhm.
we stopped doing that. Like they have computers. The computer actually will, if you want a glass of water, it
Mhm.
will actually 3D print a glass of water right there on the spot for you, and you just drink it, and then you like discard it in the computer, and it goes away. Like that's yeah.
That's
So
getting close for sure.
well, yeah. Like if you want to plate of food, you don't cook the food. You just have the computer make it for you, and
Yeah.
it just 3D prints a plate of food for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But that still doesn't negate the fact that those people have things to do. And maybe I'm getting too far into sci-fi, but like even if you have computers that 3D print things on the spot like that, humans still have purpose. And I think that'll never go away. And if it does, then we're going to be in a pretty bad position.
Well, we have too many people. That's where like society starts destabilizing when there's the ratio of wealthy to poor people is increases like substantially. And so then if yeah, if AI starts taking a lot of jobs and you get to a Star Trek type world or like halfway to Star Trek, it's like there's gonna be a shit ton of poor people just kind of like sitting around, and then it will like yeah, there it turns into revolts. It's basically like what would happen in ancient Rome or ancient Greece, where like the city every once in a while like they would start fucking revolting because like the distribution of poor people would be so insane uh
You know what?
that it's just like we're just tired of this shit.
That does bring up another topic. When you say poor people, I don't think of poor as in like, do I have money or not have money? I think of poor when you in that scenario, I would think it's probably the people who I hate the IQ conversation, but it's kind of like that's a good way to frame it, or that's the language we have. But people are who are of less intelligence, the people who can only do jobs like working McDonald's or something like that. Those people are going to be out of luck because you don't have the expertise, knowledge, or mental capacity to like manage an AI tool. So what do you
Yeah,
do? If there's
exactly.
no jobs like flipping burgers, if a computer can make a burger and you can't flip burgers, then what do you do?
This is why Andrew Yang was selling me, because he was like his argument was around trucking, I think. Trucking logistics, like the whole logistics industry. It's like he knew all the statistics, and it was basically like, hey, if we lose all of our drivers, this is going to create a real problem in society. And yeah,
But
probably would.
but here's a problem with that. If you if you give these people money, what are they going to do with it?
I know. I don't. That's what like. I don't think that's a solution. Like initially, I was like, yeah, yeah, that makes sense. He sold me on the problem, and then I just looked over the solution back when he was talking about it. But then I thought about it for a while. And like now, I'm like, yeah, that's not a good solution. I don't know what the good solution is though, dude. It's like, uh, people people need people need some type of like meaning, and like job is your career is like one of them, and is like one way to get that, and then like spirituality, love, um and if we have a society where you can't really, and you've taken away the work, you could still have love and spirituality. We would need to revert back into like ancient times, but I think we have too many people. Ancient times meaning I'm thinking about like I'm envisioning maybe pre ancient Greece, uh when it was like a bunch of like small like village type communities, city state, like even before city states. It's not like it's before civilized society, but not not very tribal, hunter gatherers, like right after that where they're like farming, it's like that, the agricultural revolution, and that could be it. But they were also not that happy either, because it's like we went from hunter gathering to agriculture, and now you're fucking working all day because you're gonna like tilling the field and you're doing a shit ton of work, but you're getting meaning, like you have a lot of purpose providing for your family.
Yes.
You're farming again, so like,
Oh man, you're bringing up so many topics, man. We can take this so many ways because I have four thoughts, and I don't know which one we're going to get into. But first, there's a lot of people, including Elon Musk and a lot of other people who keep highlighting the problem. One of the problem is or highlighting, and this is actually my theory on why a lot of Western nations are doing a lot of illegal immigration. I think that most of the people who are in the top brass of society or the oligarchy, I think they see that a huge problem is going to be population collapse.
mm,
But that's another stuff. That's a whole
mm-hmm,
another thing. The other thing that you brought up is how people need meaning, and you brought up like how they were like in agrarian society, people were still
mm-hmm,
this satisfied. But my thoughts of that is people will always be dissatisfied, and if they
mm-hmm,
are satisfied, then that itself becomes a problem, which is
mm-hmm,
the
mm-hmm,
one of the core meaning, the core concepts of the Matrix,
mm-hmm. Yeah, that
right?
resonates. That resonates. Yeah.
So then the other thing is what is the last thing that you said about the agrarian society? I forgot. But those are the two main things that I thought about. I'm like, if no, 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 no. Thank you. The third thing you brought up is AI, right? So
Mm-hmm,
let's say the AI starts making food for people, right? If you
mm-hmm,
can 3D print food.
mm-hmm,
The problem is, and this is from one of my favorite YouTubers, the German scientist. I think her name is Sabine or something.
mm,
She brought this up. She brings this up a lot with AI. She's like, AI isn't going to take over anything, and it's not for any of the things that are popular to say. We don't have AI takes up a lot of energy just to do computations.
mm-hmm,
We don't have that type of energy, number one. And number two, if we want to build these robots or anything like that, it takes a lot of resources, energy, supplies,
mm-hmm,
and all this other stuff to
mm-hmm,
build this. So what I think the more and more you talk about this, it sounds like that the people who are going to have these machines that create food for them are going to be a limited number of people because you
yeah,
can't that's not something you can mass produce because you need resources for that. And you don't have the resources. It's just like the electric car is going to like save humanity. I mean, stop the
Hmm.
global warming thing. How is it going to stop global warming when we need to like mine all this
Yeah,
lithium?
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, how's it
exactly.
like we're going to destroy the environment trying to get all this lithium for these car batteries? We don't, there's no, I mean, I don't think it's
And the
directly
grid can't
related
handle
to,
it. Like if the
yeah.
entire world, if the entire world had all had cars, all had internet, all had TVs, like if we literally we couldn't power it. There is enough energy.
So the problem kind of solves itself, but it kind of creates other problems, which is disparity. And
Hmm.
yes, I do think that's probably what's going to happen. Like, there's going to be a few oligarchs who have this technology, and everyone else is going to be scrapping, man. Like, it kind of feels like it's going to go back to like a feudal society or something like
Hmm.
that.
Yeah, yeah. It that's why I was kind of leaning more towards like ag agrarian society, agriculture, where like a community, and it's like you went to church, you had your family, um, you had your one bar in town, and your one pub, and it's basically that's what you did, right? And that's the entire life. But I think we have too many people in the way we've lived. So one thing I've been thinking about recently, I told you before we started recording. Well, I've been reading this book called Big Chief Elizabeth, and it's basically about the beginnings of America. And one of the things that's interesting about it is that they they talk about these people in Britain and how they would fund, say, a ship and the supplies and everything to then, and then the people that would go on the ship and then go over the ocean, I think it's the Atlantic, and then land somewhere, and then try to and then you're in this fucking wilderness, this raw fucking wilderness, and nobody has any skills. And that was the thing that was that I never really even thought about, but like people hated it. They painted this picture of like you go over this America, it would be beautiful, or there would always be this exaggeration about how good America was because they wanted people to go over there. They wanted people to get on this fucking ship and risk their lives and go across and get fucking scurvy and whatever and go through hurricanes, and a lot of people died, but they would go over there and it would be miserable because you would have to fucking fend for your food, and they weren't used to it. They weren't used to it. Everything's taken care of you, even in 15th, 16th century, 17th century England. And it's like now you're telling me that like I gotta go in this fucking wilderness of just woods and fucking kill a deer with no, like I don't even know how to use bow and arrow. Not even that. I mean, they had a gun, but they don't know how to, like the normal person doesn't know how to fucking kill a deer, and then they have to find it. And these deer are probably like are used to battling with Indians, and so they knew how to they could see you from a mile away, smell you from a mile away, and there's no way you're getting it. So then like, dude, people would starve like crazy. You would have I don't even I'm so grateful for like our ancestors and now after reading this book, because like they would come over, there'd be like five fucking hundred people, and then it would just talk about the collapse of like winter's coming, no food, they're trying to fucking barter with the Indians and shit, and then they ended up like the Indians get tired of them because they're like they're taking all their food, there's not enough mouths to feed, and so they were good at like they had their corn and their grains and shit, and they had their venison, but it was enough for just their people. And then you had, but then they would trade guns or trade steel or whatever the fuck they had, and then it would get to a point where like they can't help the English anymore, and so they would stop. They would cut them off. Winter would come, and then their supplies would be like they'd try to bring supplies, water. They would have maggots and shit in it, like God knows what. And then people would start starving to death. Like cannibalism happened. They would eat their dogs. They would dig up graves and
Okay, all right.
cook people.
This
Like,
is
dude, wild shit. But this is what I think about when you think about society. Like it could get to that level. Like we've lost all uh like we lost all the skill sets to be able to fend on our own, and um and that's exactly what I thought about. You take someone from this like city life, London, drop them into the wilderness. That's what would happen to us. We would be fucked. 100% we'd be fucked.
You know what? That brings me back to the thing about um it brings up a lot of subjects. One is natural selection. Because I'm trying to think of a way that the phrase this that is not as I want to say brutal or insensitive as what I'm going to say is like this is where the IQ thing comes in. It's like because a person who and when I say and I hate to use that term IQ, I cringe even when I use it because it's not in it's kind of the way I use it is kind of not in the same sense as most people use it, but because I mean there are high IQ people that can't function in society. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of them can't. But when I say high IQ, I mean a person with the mental agility and dexterity to adapt to new situations.
Mm,
And that's not necessarily someone who's high IQ that
right.
just that's when I think of intelligence, that's what I think of. Let's just put
Yeah, I
it
see
like
what you
that.
mean. Yeah.
So when you're in that kind of scenario, the vast majority of people who are not adaptable or can't, and it's kind of the reason why I watch a lot of cop cams because I'm fat. And no one, I don't know anyone who watches cop cams the way I watch them because most people are like back to blue and all. I'm like, no, like I'm fascinated by these people who revert back to their animal tendencies when something like we live in this society where everything is free, you have iPhones, you have all of this, but like let's say that something barbaric happens, like you are under arrest.
Mm,
You don't have access to your phone. You're going to be put in a metal box.
yeah.
How do people react in that? Like they go psycho,
Yeah.
like especially women, they like lose it. And then it's like no matter how many times like a rational person is trying to tell them, look, dude, you're making this worse. It doesn't matter because they're in animal mode. And I
Hmm.
think a lot of people are like that in that scenario where like they get it, they just like you said, they don't have the survival skills to manage nature directly.
Hmm. Hmm.
If I put,
Hmm.
I think that's the best way to put it. Like you put them in a scenario where they got to hunt their own food. There's not a lot of people who can do that. There are some people who can do that, but not a lot. And that's the scary thing about it. And they will, like you said, cannibalism, they will resort back to like psycho tendencies. They will do
Yeah.
anything in that
Yeah.
scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah, it's fucked up. It's fucked up, man. And that we went down this rabbit hole because we started uh, theorizing what would happen
With
to these
AI took
people.
over and
Yeah, and it's like took over a lot of jobs. And it's like, what do these people do? And it's like, yeah, they could reduce down to back to aggregate agrarian society, and but then it's like nobody knows how to even fucking maintain like a garden for Christ's sake,
dude, it's
let alone
hard work trying to maintain a garden.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
really
I did
hard
my
work.
I started my first one because I actually have a backyard now,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean, I think I we did corn, and like the squirrels fucking ate all the corn besides like 3 years, you know. It's like we gotta figure
Yes.
out the squirrels or like don't do corn. Rabbits are in there, put up on a fence. It's just like, yeah, nature is it's a wild thing, and that's why like you get in this society where we take that's another worry about AI, by the way, is like if you start taking control of a lot of these things for humans and we just give away a lot of like our agency, we think we're becoming more efficient, um but you could just turn AI off, like one nuclear bomb and would shut off AI, and then everybody's just back to like okay, and then and then nobody can even figure out a garden, nobody can hunt. Um, yeah, it starts getting apocalyptic real quick. Where you mentioned the societal collapse, and there's that. We don't. This will probably make the podcast too long. We could follow up on another one. But when you said that, that's what AI could do potentially in the next maybe
Dude, no
100
one
200
has
years.
brought that up. No one's brought that up. That is a good point.
The one thing I was thinking about, you ever seen you've probably read about the mouse study. I think I forget what it's called, where like
Oh, it's one of my favorite
they
studies
give them
ever.
everything,
Mouse
like perfect.
Utopia. Yeah.
Yeah. They give them everything, and then it
Yes.
eventually collapses. The society
Dude, I
collapses.
talk about that on Twitter all the time. Mouse Utopia. And it's like, I think that's what's happening to our society in a sense. It's like, because, and that's more so, we've kind of talked about that because that's more so like the collapse of meaning. Like, you
Hmm.
get to a point where these people are crowded in this one space in these cities, right? You're crowded in these cities. And I
Hmm.
think that's the difference between that's the real reason why you need to move out in the suburbs if you want to have kids or if you want to start a family or that something like that, which that's also my theory of why the black community is so fucked because and wow, I mean that's kind of insensitive to a lot of people, but whatever. It's because black people are always in these big cities and cities is are not a natural environment for humans, right?
Yeah.
And you create this mouse utopia type thing going on and
Hmm.
you're disconnected from nature and that kind of thing. And I know I'm talking like a hippie, but like it's true. Like,
No, I'm 100% on board with that.
and you just become this person who's in this crowded space and like the mouse utopia, then weird stuff started happening.
Hmm.
You know,
That's the whole thing with you, like even Section 8 housing, for example, like in Chicago, like we just give people housing. We're just going to give you housing. And it's like, well, that's like responsibility and loss of meaning and purpose. It starts getting into
thank
mouse utopia,
you.
right? Universal basic
Yes.
income, um, all of it. Now, I think there should be a way in society where I don't know. I'm actually torn on this. I was about to say there should be like some type of help from society in some way if something becomes drastic. And but I don't know if it's financial. I think it maybe it's medical. Like what's interesting about
Oh man, that's another rabbit hole.
it's is if like we should provide all our medical necessities potentially as a society. Like maybe hospitals should be free, and that would save a lot. That would help a lot of things, and then you wouldn't have to think about and pay money for all of that. And then maybe you could pay for your house, and you don't need Section 8 housing. But I don't know. That gets into a fucking can of worms because then it's like the housing system is so fucking corrupt, and houses are like so expensive for reasons that out of people's control. And then society's so fucking ass backwards that like you go to inner city Chicago, right? And it's like crime gets to a certain point where like people take the like you can't even go get a Walmart or a fucking Dollar General because they don't want to be in that because it doesn't make financial business sense. And so then you like lose all of these things. Um, and so then everyone's like so poor that you have to give them all of these resources. And then it goes back into the mouse utopia. You're like mouse utopia or you're fucking like very tribal gang banging, right?
Well, I think the gangbanging is kind of a sense is kind of one of the aspects of Mouse Utopia because there's like in the story, like there's violent packs of rats that just used to attack
Yeah,
other
yeah,
rats in the
yeah,
Mouse Utopia thing.
yeah.
Well,
Because they lost, because they needed meaning, right? And that's how you get meaning.
that's how you get meaning.
Yeah,
You talk to any game member, that's like family and all this kind of
yeah,
stuff. But
100%,
like,
100%.
so the bigger picture, like the way I see it is that, and this go like I keep going back to the well with intelligence because I'm not sure because I'm not like a expert on intelligence or what that means, but my solution would be that that education should be, and I don't mean education like formal education, but like, well, kind of formal education, but like people need, what is the only thing that separates us from animals? It's our brains. Like, why not maximize the capacity of our lowest, of the person who's the lowest on the totem pole? Like, the person who's lowest on the totem pole should have like a minimum. Now, when you get into like the low, like people who are like mentally out
Hmm.
of it or they
Yeah.
have mental illness, that's something else. But I'm talking about someone who has the mental capacity to learn like how to manage a farm or how to grow crops.
This is the
Like,
problem, dude. That like that's real education. The problem is our education system's also fucked. So
oh
like
man, dude.
it's like you can't. It would be nice. It makes me think of Booker T. Washington and the way he educated the
Yes,
black community.
yes, yes,
I think he called it industrial learning or something along those lines. Where like
yes,
you
yes,
had a classroom, you came there, you had a fucking classroom, but you also like you had to learn how to bricklay, you know.
yes.
And
Skills that are valuable.
yeah, he was huge on that. Like you couldn't come. I remember reading where like parents would be pissed off because their kids are whining about like bricklaying after going to school all day, and then he would basically say, tell them to fuck off and in a nice way. But he revolutionized learning uh for the black community, and then he would give them skill sets post slavery. They would get skill sets, real fucking skill sets. Today's education system is like you don't get any skill sets. You know what I
No,
mean? Like especially in
no,
inner city. Like I went
no.
to like a shitty high school and shitty and like poor rural, and it's like I'm not learning to code. I'm not fucking learning to weld. I'm not learning to do any of these fucking things. It's just like you're just the bell rings, you go to this next one. This teacher's getting paid jack shit. She doesn't give a shit. She's it's like it's a that can get in a whole fucking can of worms.
Well, that's always my thing. That's how I rationalize voting Democrat my entire life. Like, I don't like a lot of the stuff I'm like, I don't know, but like the education aspect, because I'm like, I don't see any other way to advance an individual. I don't think that giving people money is helpful. I don't think that, I mean, healthcare, maybe that's something, that's a whole nother issue, but just like
Mhm.
giving out free stuff doesn't help me grow. It doesn't help me do anything. It's just like I need meaning. And you get meaning by learning stuff, advancing. The human being is not an animal. We're not just meant to like lay out in the sun, like some people would
Yeah,
say that. But like we need
yeah,
to do things, and education gives you that, like Booker T. Washington. Like i- i- if you go to college and you learn all this theoretical stuff, then when you get out in the real world, you realize that, oh, okay, well, the people who are better at the theoretical stuff are the people who have not only education but and the experience. So
hmm
you can't compete with them. You have to compete with the people who are doing the low level stuff, the skilled labor
yeah,
class. And that's why people complain about, like, I didn't learn anything in college because they didn't teach you how to work your way up.
yeah,
Like, that's how the world works. It's a
yeah,
hierarchy. I know that even that's controversial nowadays, but
yeah,
like, yeah, like you can't just go
100%.
in and think you don't have the experience. You don't know what's going on here with your theories that you got in the book from college. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like,
100%. 100%. 100%. Yep.
but yeah, man. So, dude, we've gone an hour and 30 minutes, man.
Yeah. I think
Uh,
we fit the max on that on that topic for sure. We could go we could go another 2 hours.
But anyway, man. So, and another thing, I'm talking like this because I'm gonna start cutting videos, man. But is there anything else you want to delve into, or this hit your limit for today?
Yeah, let's hit our limit because hour and a half is pretty good for 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 people. That's pretty good.
Cool.
I mean, I could go for hours for sure on on that topic, but we had a nice coverage of it.
Cool. What else? What else? I wanted to say something else. Oh, you want to watch the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. But I'm just hanging out at the house watching it with the wife. Uh,
Yeah, me too, man. I refuse to have a Super Bowl party for the Chiefs and